Imagine being so fundamentally exceptional that white America deems you a threat. Let's talk about it. My first job out of law school was as a public defender, and they shipped me off to like a really rural jurisdiction. And I immediately distinguished myself as someone who really gave a shit about the job and who wanted to do well. And at first, everybody loved that. It's important to note that I was the only Black attorney in that entire city, and so I was also the only Black public defender in that office. At first, everyone loved me. There was like a lot of snapping and neck rolling, but I got a lot of compliments on like my trial skills, my appearance, and my jokes, my personality. People wanted to be my friend. But over time, something shifted. And it shifted just at the time that I distinguished myself as someone who really cared about being a trial attorney and who was good at it. I was still being delightful and sociable and trying to make friends, but I was also doing really well at my job. And there was a sudden chill and frostiness in the air. And I realized that people were starting to like me less. After a couple weeks, I was pulled aside and told that I was a mean girl, right? That people were intimidated by me, that I was aggressive and I was scary and I was stomping around with this attitude and that I needed to calm down. This was definitely not the whole office, and some of my best friends are still there. But it was a select group of women who just really didn't like my attitude, I guess, or the way I was functioning in the courtroom. And suddenly I had gone from the office pet to the office threat. Let's talk about it. In 2013, Dr. Keisha Thomas, a professor at the University of Georgia, came up with a term to describe this exact phenomenon, the pet to threat phenomenon. According to Dr. Thomas and anyone who has eyes in corporate America, as soon as a Black woman presents herself as credentialed and competent in the workforce, she suddenly threatens the status quo, and that pisses people off and it incurs retaliation. Per this phenomenon, when a Black woman starts at a new job, she's immediately celebrated, right? People want to be around her, they're complimenting her, they're offering her mentorship, they're so excited that she's there. But over time, you pick up workplace issues, and after a while, you point them out. You go to leadership and say, hey, I'm observing this, this, and this. And oftentimes these issues are related to prejudice or discrimination or systemic racism, things that white corporate America hates talking about. You also maybe point out that you feel like you're being overlooked, right? You're not being picked for cool assignments, or people are starting to exclude you and you're worried. And that's when the retaliation starts. The organization or leadership gets defensive and suddenly you're identified as the problem. This is your fault. You have an attitude. You're aggressive. You're asking for too much. You're pointing out problems that don't exist, honey. At this point, leadership or the organization tells you that you're not good at communicating and you're not performing that well, and your peers are having a hard time getting to know you, and you should put yourself out there more. And ultimately, you just don't fit in with corporate culture. And so eventually you decide to leave, right? They don't fire you, but they've essentially forced you out, and here you go. You have the pet to threat phenomenon. And I think what undergirds all of this is that white corporate America feels good when they can describe themselves as benevolent, right? When they can point to diversity and say, look at all these Black people we have at this office. And they're fine with you performing well. If you're performing well, it means racism doesn't exist. But as soon as you get better at your job than they are, that's when they don't like it, and suddenly they turn their attitude around. White corporate America wants you to do well, but never better than them. And when you inevitably surpass them as a Black woman, that's when it pisses everyone off and you get pushed out. So this is the pet to threat phenomenon, and it happens everywhere. I'd love to hear if it's happened to you. Tell me in the comments. It's me, the threat, signing off. Toodles!
I had a Black dude who was celebrating that those Black women lost their jobs. Talking about, oh, now all y'all 300,000. I said, okay. I said, do you understand the money that took out of Black neighborhoods? Do you know how many of them Black women probably head of their households? Or how many of them Black women who was married and 50% of their money paid for everything that was in that household? I said, so why are you celebrating? You better understand the way they're trying to purposely decimate us. This whole thing with Trump and a lot of them, it's about messing our Black money. I don't care how you want to play it. I said, when he got an NIL, that's what my homeboy called me. He said, you right. Because why are you in NIL? Majority of athletes is getting paid what color?
Black.
There you go. So why are you bothering with the NIL? The whole setup, you find all them government employees, because that's the highest rate of government. Black people is employed by the government. You around here coming after all the DIs. Now you got what the colleges saying they can't even recruit for DI initiatives or certain HBCU colleges. The whole thing is to mess about money, because like he said, the Mexicans were taking Black people jobs, right? You think that was just something his slick self was saying? He trying to have us out here picking tomatoes and cotton. But I am my ancestors. I'll burn that whole farm down first.
Facts.
My son is devastated because he found out some of his closest friends' parents are Trump supporters. We live in Florida. It's a primarily Hispanic area, but the kind of Hispanics that identify as white. So I had to really explain to him that when I encounter white people in my area, but just in general, I assume that they voted for Trump. If they have not explicitly told me otherwise, it's a safer assumption on my part to assume that they did. Now, does that mean I can't associate with you, I can't be friendly towards you, or I can't even be some level of friends with you? No. But will we be close? Absolutely not. I'm going to keep you at a distance because the things that you support are to my detriment, and would be harmful to me, people like me, and my way of life. So, will you be on my closest friends list? No. Will you know any of my business? Absolutely not. But can I kiki with you at the grocery store? Okay, girl. Hey. I actually enjoy when I am able to confirm what I thought to be true about someone in the first place. For Rhonda Satan's wife is going to be in my area today making some type of a speech, and someone in the community posted it on Facebook to alert everybody. I clocked every single comment, every single one. Not because I had anything to say, but just because you are who I thought you were. And I knew it all along.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's Anthony. Today we're chilling in the park, literally, enjoying some good moments. Today we are talking about blacks' reaction to Donald Trump's policies. I have talked to several black Americans to get their perspective of Trump, since Trump's aim is to punish those who didn't vote for him. And blacks, led by margins, 92% for women and maybe it's 4% for men. So in trouble they are. So Trump, if you see his policies, what he's doing now, he is relying on the strength of his threats to silence the black voice in our communities or even nationally. That's what he's aiming at. So let's discuss about his effects, the effect of his policies in our communities.
Black parents with teenage children, please listen up. I have a message just for you. More than 2 million African Americans voted for Trump. And that's a major reason why we're in the mess we're in today under this white supremacist agenda. Many of those votes came from young black men ages 18 to 27. And if you're like me, you're asking, why would they vote for Trump despite his racism? And here's the answer. Because of disinformation, which are lies designed to mislead our community, especially our youth. And much of it is coming from Trump, MAGA, and what I call pro-black imposters on social media. These pro-black imposters pretend to have our best interests at heart, but they're really working against us. That's why every parent of black teenagers has a moral obligation to teach their teenage children 5 lessons. First, teach them that every founder of this nation was a white supremacist who believed God cursed us and created us inferior. Second, then teach your children, your teenagers especially, that those white supremacists wrote the Constitution itself with white supremacy laws to keep white supremacists in power and black people oppressed and powerless. Third, white supremacists and their pro-black imposter allies prey on ignorance. They target low information voters. Fourth, the best defense against this is critical thinking. And that requires education, strong reading skills, and a deep understanding of the black struggle for equality from Africa to America. Fifth, tell your children, and you keep in mind, don't rely on the school system alone. Teach your children to be ferocious readers, to study experts and scholars, not social media influences with no real expertise and scholarship in the black struggle. And most importantly, tell them to study the Bible, because it shows how another marginalized group, the Jews, overcame slavery and centuries of violence, hatred, and bigotry. And remember what Frederick Douglass said, you cannot enslave an educated person. So parents, teach your children these truths, because our freedom and that of our children depend on it. And remember, stay woke.
Y'all, did you see? Did you catch the switch? Did you catch it? A few days ago, Donald Trump was talking about we're going to get the homeless off the streets of Washington, D.C. And now they're only, I'm not going to say only, they're mostly targeting black boys and men. They are going to them. They're going to them in daylight. They're not going out there past curfew. They're going there in daylight, and they have imported the Rudy Giuliani special, stop and frisk. You black, you were suspicious, empty your pockets. Let's see what you got. These are reminiscent of Jim Crow, the Jim Crow laws, or the past laws in South Africa. Why are you standing here? And what right do you have to be here? And prove to me that you have not committed a crime or you are not a walking crime. That's what they're doing. He's got the DEA, the FBI, Homeland Security, ICE, DC Metro Police. He's got National Guard, and he's got military, all for a few neighborhoods. The black community in the neighborhood that he has designated a trouble zone, or wherever he calls it, is being occupied right now. Where are those protesters supporting Gaza and Palestine, mad about the Israeli occupation 7,000 miles away? You got one happening right here. Where are those 2A people? You bought 3 million, 100 million guns, or whatever it is, because you were preparing for government tyranny. Where are you now? Where's the NRA? Where are all you 2A people? So look, if you are in D.C., remember, be careful, right? Especially if you're black male. Be careful. And look, it's not just black males in jeans and T-shirts. If you were in a suit and tie and you were even the federal government, if you were off-duty cop, you will still get it. Because it's not what you're wearing, it's the skin that you have. They're going to come after you. And white supremacy is never satisfied nor satiated. That's why he's already said he's coming for Chicago. He's already come for LA. He's coming for New York. He's coming for Oakland. And you know what else? That means Atlanta. That means Philly. That means wherever. That means Portland and Seattle, because he hates y'all anyway, even though most of y'all up there white. He hates y'all. You guys got next. So you better prepare yourselves. And look, it can't just be Gavin Newsom out there fighting back as a Democrat. It's got to be all these other governors. I know a few others are doing it, but it's got to be more. You got to have more. You can't just have this guy with his personal King's Guard and his personal thugs and goons terrorizing one community to start, because that's the fascist playbook. You start with one and you spread to others. I remember he said homeless, but now he's after everybody else who's black.
So what we have here, again, in short, is a black MAGA Trumper who was called a slave by the white MAGA Trumpers, didn't like it, had a moment where he needed to sober up, and now he's mad about it. You know, now he's probably coming to terms with the fact that maybe I might have chose the wrong side. Maybe these folks aren't who I thought they would have been. Maybe I thought they would be nice to me, but I'll never be one of them. You know, any of those things. But I think that Chris Thompson, the producer of our show, put it best when he sent this over to us as one of the stories to cover. He put, duh, imagine what they're saying about you behind your back. And this is something that I think is just so special.
To the Latino Trump supporters on here, how much proof do you need to see to realize these people don't like you? How much do you need to see to realize that these MAGA Trump supporters, white, really don't like you and really what they think of you? Now, I know a lot of y'all are Republican, conservative. I have a lot of conservatives in my family. And I know Latinos, a lot of are conservatives because, you know, they're against abortion stuff, which I understand 100%. But do you really think that these people like you, are on your side? You're in fact mistaken. These MAGA Republicans are not the same Republicans you think you follow. This is not George Bush or Dick Cheney. This is a total different group of Republicans. This is a racist, bigoted, wannabe white supremacist group of Republicans. Now, I'm not saying all these Trump supporters are racist, but I'm going to tell you a hell of a lot of them are. You're not white, Latinos for Trump. You're not white. Quit acting like you are. I know a lot of y'all want to be white. You want to be accepted that you're white, but you're not white. A lot of you have ties. You can't even, some of y'all can't even speak English right. And you're there supporting Trump. And don't tell me a lot of y'all have ties down south of the border. We all do. I was born in the United States. My mom was born in the United States. But my grandma wasn't. That's right, my grandma wasn't. She was born in Mexico. When they talk about Latinos south of the border, they're still talking about you. Whether you're born here or not, they're talking about you. These people disrespect you right in your face. They spit right in your face, and you sit there and you eat it all up and accept it. Donald Trump sits there and spits in your face, and you eat it up. Shameful. Embarrassment. I never thought in my whole 50 plus years of life that I would ever see people of color, despite everything people of color have been through, would be siding on the side of white supremacy. Embarrassment. Waltz Harris, 2024. We're going to put an end to this madness and stupidity soon. Waltz Harris, 2024.
Business and justice. Just what our community needs in a time of disinformation and division. So if you believe in what we're doing, click the membership button and join now. Become a member of the 2% Club today. Let's build something powerful together. All right, so we're going to go to an article written by ABC News. Okay, let's go over there now, and we're going to read a little bit, and then we're going to get into some of the particulars. All right, this says the U.S. government has shut down. Here's what to know. Both Republican and Democratic proposals that would have funded the government past Tuesday failed in the Senate during the 11th hour, effectively shutting down the government at 12:01 a.m. on Wednesday. I was actually up last night when that happened and looked at the clock and said, hey, the government has shut down. Now, you see I got big GOP lie. I want you to pay close attention to this paragraph. The federal government ran out of money after a Democratic-backed spending bill that would have extended health care subsidies under the Affordable Care Act and reversed cuts to Medicaid failed, as well as the GOP-backed stopgap funding measure that would have funded the government for 7 weeks also failed. But there is a great big GOP lie that is circulating online and main media as well. And that is that the government shut down because the Democrats desired to pay for health care, free health care for undocumented immigrants. All right? That is a huge whopper. That is a lie, flat out lie. The Democratic Party put out a spending bill that had specific proposals, and not one of those proposals, not one, wanted to fund free health care for undocumented immigrants. And by the way, I think the premise of that assertion is false anyway, because undocumented immigrants in this country, they work, and therefore many of them pay taxes into the system. So it's not like they're getting free health care. But the even bigger issue is it is against federal law for undocumented immigrants to get health care except in emergency situations. So that's
Texas Governor Greg Abbott is about to do his own version of what Trump is doing to Texas. And he's starting in Houston. He's starting a violent crimes task force where he's sending law enforcement into Houston to target repeat offenders. And when asked if it was going to specifically target specific people, he said it was going to be additional patrols in certain areas of the city. This is what... This is why I want him out of office. This will disproportionately impact black and brown people here in Texas. If you have some sense, you already know that. This is why I want him out. This is why I'm busting my ass to make sure that shit happens. And I need you all to vote no on the bail proposition that's on the ballot on November 4th, please. And Houston's just a testing ground. He wants us to go to the whole state.
The entire country is underreacting to what Trump is doing, and that kind of what frightens me, if I'm being real. This man not only freezing $18 billion is supposed to go to like New York public transit for DEI, he's also saying he wants to train the military in Democratic-led cities because they disagree with him. And what I understand is, in most of these Democratic-ran cities, we got black and brown communities that's hotbeds for the entire city. So what he's saying is he gonna go in there, you feel me, and start to police and militarize different forces against these people and use them as target practice. Use them as fungible objects to be able to bolster American imperialism up. And it's just like, fam, what did you... So DEI mean black and brown. Democrat mean black and brown. Whole time, these white folks is waging war against each other and using black people as little proxies. You feel me? I'm talking about every time they say the extreme left is blah, 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 they go find some random ass Mexican, some random ass black American talking about some leftists. Whole time, we don't even play them bipartisan games. If y'all went clicked up with the white supremacists and the Ku Klux Klan told us, you feel me, the Confederate flag toting people, y'all probably would have more black people that vote for y'all. But instead, y'all don't, and y'all be against a whole bunch of shit that's supposed to progress black people. Now, listen, Democrats also is implicated in that, but they just better than y'all, and that's the reason why we have these issues. You feel me?
So if you have watched this video to the end, thank you. You mean a lot to me. And let's make our analysis. And as usual, my name is Anthony. Let's make America great again. This slogan means that there was once a time America was great before it deteriorated. When has America ever be great for the black man? When has America ever be great when the black man had to fight for voting rights? When the black man had to fight to have access to the banking system? When black man had to fight to end segregation? When black man had to fight a world war and still not become recognized as an equal citizen of this country? When the greatest black voices, name them, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, were silent. They were silenced, not by arguments, not by anything, but by bullets. So in the eye of this storm, let's look at Trump's policies economically wise without looking at his attempt to militarize our cities. Because despite several black young voters shifting Republicans, they are still waiting for a return to the investment. The unemployment rate among Americans aged between 16 to 24 in our black communities has risen from 9% to 10.6% since Trump came to the White House. And in general, black joblessness has continued to rise, considering that we have these massive federal firings and general slowdown in hirings. So we are facing attacks from every corner of this Trump government, and it is all an aim to ensure that we continue becoming dependent on government for survival. First and foremost is executive order to attack the Black National Museum, which preserves the African American history, is attempt to remove the Black Lives Matter mural, attacking HBCUs by cutting their funding through cutting funds in the Department of Education, rolling back DEI initiatives, and even the federal firings. You saw the other day, there were these about 300,000 black women who lost their jobs. In short, it is to erase the black middle class. That is all their aim. erasing the black middle class. And that is a general attack to the whole community, our mothers. Even cutting funding to healthcare, it is all aimed at the black communities because these are places which are considered mostly low-income neighborhoods. So it's all an aim towards the community. And this bomb which is aimed toward us, it's very massive. It's very catastrophic. And unless maybe we join hands with the rest of the country to save ourselves, I don't think that there is any way back. Because we were all hoodwinked. That Trump's aim was to make America great again, even for blacks, even for the Latinos. And many people fail to ask themselves, when has America ever been great to the black man? Everyone, until the next video, thank you for your attention to this matter.